southern states are likely to regret the uncontrolled movement of Almåjiris to the state if time is not taken. Recently, there have been a massive invasion to the southern states by northern indigenes, commonly referred to as Almåjiris. Truckloads of this group of people were intercepted from Kwara to Edo State, to Delta, to Enugu, and to Cross River State, filled with young men whose mission cannot be understood. The ongoing exercise has become practically arbitrary beyond the reciprocity of the Almåjiris repatriation among the northern states. The trend is that they are now being relocated to the southern and central belts, which are not at home in the country's social practice. At first, it was conveyance of 18-seater buses that caught the attention of those who enforced closure across the state in the southern states. In some cases, up to 10 18-seater buses were intercepted, mostly late at night and early in the morning. In the same vein, on a report by the Guardian newspaper last week, an editorial article on the same subject entitled "Almåjiris Provocative Exodus to Southern Nigeria" was written by some of their editors. The Guardian editor stated earlier, "It is indeed strange that the decision of the governors of the North to move the Almåjiris to their own countries to control the spread of a pandemic has peaked." In an apparently well-coordinated mass movement by these young stars, even the usual food trucks and Dangote trailers got on the train to carry them, with most young men hidden between cows, tomatoes, yam, and some other perishable items. When the various task force for state closure became wise in this regard, the conveyance left the highways and were redirected to bush paths. Oddly enough, most of the young men who were intercepted do not speak Hausa, English, or a well-known language, or any Nigerian language. These so-called Almåjiris hold enough to produce several offspring, sometimes move over 500 in a 40-feet truck, and move as if on a mission in this part of the country, as if they were on a mission. Those who are not brave enough to travel along hide between their cows to escape the peering eyes of law enforcement agencies based at various interstate borders. Their movement is not limited to a specific time of day because arrests were made in border daylight and at night. What is their mission at a time when the nation is struggling to contain and defeat the coronavirus pandemic? If it is actually Almåjiris who are being deported to their home states, has the agreement between the governors of the North suggest why the mass movement to the South, where there is no tradition of Almåjiris? Who coordinates this movement? Who pays for them? And what is their purpose in this time? Prior to these events, there have been some times when the northern youths moved to the east for business purpose, but unfortunately, most of these young people who are believed to be from the northern states are lately discovered to be from Niger, Chad, etc. Reports in Lagos in recent years has disclosed sleeping cells from Boko Haram, ISIS, West Africa, and some members of the kidnapping gang from these groups. But the recent movement that is coming during this pandemic and lockdown period is sending a message telling the people that At this time, Boko Haram and the other terrorist gang currently held hostage in northeastern Nigeria are running for their lives. This may be due to the fact that they are in complete disarray in a bloody fight between the Nigerian army. However, the collaborative, greedy hands of hundreds of different security men and women over thousands of kilometers from north to south can easily be compromised. The situation is even more frightening as there are usually no consequences. The various violations of the law, the instigators of the mass exodus of this questionable Almåjiris, which can easily be perpetrated by the great hands of security guys, remain unchallenged, unexamined, and unpunished. As usual, by the federal government and its commander of security force are blindly and apparently uninvolved in looking into South states at the exodus of these young people and ignoring the obvious effects. The leaders on both sides are silent too and repeat the same mistakes they made when the violent criminals disguised as shepherds interfered in the South and Middle Belt. As we will remember, the leaders of the South became kidnapping targets, while their towns and villages became easy targets for the looting shepherds, not leaders, some of whom own the cows and are therefore complicity employees of the heavily armed shepherds, did not initially feel consigned, and some even condemned those who dared to voice a commendation of their uncontrolled activities. Only when it was at their front door did they suddenly realize that we were all in serious trouble. After finding an easy way to prosperity, then just keeping cattle, the Fulani shepherds plucked into the wrestling of cattle and finally into the more lucrative kidnapping businesses. Today, the criminal elements among the shepherds have completely taken over the north, and the south leaders of the north have been unable to go home for the first time since these attempts at democratic rule, because they will no longer do so until adequate measures are taken to stop the very troubling development. No highway in the north is safe. No highway in the south is safe from the kidnapping gangs. Even spending a weekend in the village or participating in the usual ceremonies has become a daring problem. Abuja and Lagos, like the leaders of the South, even became their refuge. Okay. After COVID-19, one of our greatest fear is that we all might regret the non-investigation, uncontrolled movement, and instigated mass export of these young indigenes from the north claiming to be Almåjiris. It will also be recorded that the former liaison officer to President Shehu Shagari, Alhaji Tako, has disclosed that the northern youths migrating to the south are not Almåjiris. You have to examine those who send those Almåjiris. It is true that it is Almåjiri. It's asking question. I saw a couple of teenagers wearing shirts. The Almåjiri don't wear shirts in the beginning. They said Fulani, and now they switched to Almåjiri, said the guy in an interview with Vanguard. Okay, he said, I have a strong feeling that there is more to this movement than we can imagine. Most likely, the security collaborators like the Fulani herdsmen who confuse the southern farmers will provide a shade that covers the shameful interventions of these new groups of Almåjiri that are flooding the certain state. It could be religious or criminal related. Yeah, so hello guys, what's your take on this? All these complaints on the pages of newspaper will not solve anything in the South. The South should stand up and defend this importation of human cargo. Most of them are not Nigeria. That is just it. So that means there is something more to this. This is just my view from this. So hello guys, don't forget to leave your comment below the comment.